Good evening, everyone. Welcome to An Academy. My name is Neelam Malkani, and I'm going to be your facilitator and guide for CAT and other management exams. Today's session, I'm going to have a discussion on CAT 19 passages which appeared in slot 1 of CAT 19. On this channel, in this slot, I have been discussing CAT 19 passages so that you are prepared well with the passage reading comprehension section of CAT 2020. CAT 19 was considered one of the toughest paper in terms of verbal ability and reading comprehension. I have been covering all those passages students found difficult, and I have been discussing the approach to tackle these passages. One, we are going to discuss the passages, then we are going to have a discussion on the question and answer, and if such kind of passages appear this year CAT as well, what is the strategy that you should adopt, right? So that is what is the agenda for today. So let's start CAT passage. Before that, let me give you a brief introduction. Neelam Ma'am. I have around 12 years of experience of test preparation industry. Train students of CAT, GMAT, GRE, SAT, IIMs and TOEFL. Years of expertise have been English and verbal reasoning. I have also designed assessment papers of English and reasoning, various exams for government bodies as well as professional bodies of different states. Brief period of time, I also served as an examiner of English for international exam. Recently, I authored a comprehensive book of English for the preparation of the book is available on Amazon, and the book is written in both Hindi and English. The video is brought to you by An Academy, India's largest online learning platform for the preparation of competition. Let me take you to its portal and tell you how you can be part of this platform. First, in the Play Store, you have to download An Academy Learning app. Downloading and filling in all the details, you will be shown 3 categories of courses: plus, courses, and special class. If you want to attend classes for CAT, you have to go in the category of plus. In that, you will be shown all the features that you will be availing after you subscribe to this course. Features such as 30 hours of session, live session every day. So as per your convenience and as per your availability, you choose the time of your class, you choose time for sessions. The courses which are delivered live on this platform are delivered by 40 plus top educators. Their respective educators have been training and guiding students for years. This is wealth of experience of guiding students here. The courses which are delivered by these eminent scholars and educators, courses are well structured and well designed by those people who have extensive experience, module and curriculum. Have the fine balance of both concepts and practice. Every month you get to see a new course being launched on Academy. Under one subscription, you will be able to avail all these benefits. When you go to subscribe, you will be shown different models of subscription which have been devised by An Academy to suit your specific needs for the preparation of this exam. If you are preparing for CAT 2020, you can go for 1 month subscription. Preparing for CAT 2021, you can go for 1 year subscription. Models of subscription are very pocket friendly and best in industry. Now, one subscription, you will be availing all the benefits. If you want to avail further 10% discount, you have to type code Neelam. Model of subscription you choose to go with, you have to type this code, able to avail further 10%. Right? So that's about An Academy. Now let's get started with today's session, that is CAT 19. So, as and when I started taking these classes, I have been discussing with you the sources of these passages, right? So, with that only, I started telling you that you should start reading international newspapers. Now, CAT examiners are relying on the articles published in international newspapers for picking up the discuss some passages which were taken from the Atlantic, the Guardian, and some passages which were taken from books. Right? So yesterday passage that we discussed, which was based on geography, was based on a book. More passage which was based on British colonialism was again taken from a book. So multifarious reading is going to give you that confidence as well as strength to well in reading comprehension. Needless to say, you have to start reading. Whether you are preparing for CAT 2020 or CAT 2021, multifarious reading is only way to do well in reading comprehension. This passage was taken up from magazine, Smithsonian magazine. This article appeared in this magazine in 2013. So, yes, so 2013, and the passage was given in 2019. You actually cannot do anything about it. The passage was based on penguins of, and one mechanism which is employed by penguins in Antarctica to keep their body warmer, right? So, yes, as I said, multifarious reading. Those subjects are which are not of your interest or which you are not very fond of reading, might have to read these stuffs to excel in reading comprehension. So let's start passage. I have divided the passage into different paragraphs, and I'll give you 30 seconds to read to read each paragraph. Let's begin reading of paragraph. Paragraph 1. All right. I'm going to read it for you, and I'll also paraphrase the passage. Scientists recently discovered that emperor penguin, one of the Antarctica's most celebrated species. I have been telling you whichever part comes after the dash, you can omit it, right? So because that is going to explain the previous statement. So if you have understood the previous statement, this part can easily be omitted and you can minimize the time of your reading. Scientists recently discovered that emperor penguins employ a particularly unusual technique. So unusual. This is the word author has chosen to explain the technique or to define the technique for surviving the daily chill. Detail in an article published today in the journal Biology letter, the birds minimize heat loss by keeping the outer surface of their plumage below the temperature of the surrounding air. What is this unusual technique? The temperature of their plumage. Plumage is nothing but a feather, outer covering of feather which covers a bird's body, right? So here the plumage, the outer covering of bird is colder than the environment air or the temperature which is in the environment. Plumage temperature is colder, lesser. Okay, so that is what is the technique. They keep temperature of their plumage, the outer covering, colder. At the same time, the penguins' thick plumage insulates their body and keeps it coastal. So the same plumage which is colder than the outer temperature insulates the body, the internal body, and the body is toasty. Though the outer layer is colder, but the body is warm. Toasty is nothing but warm and comfortable, right? तो unusual क्यों है? क्योंकि outer layer ठंडी है, environment के temperature से ज़्यादा ठंडी है, लेकिन फिर भी body जो है वो गर्म है. That is what is unusual, right? So that is what is the sum and substance paragraph. The technique which is employed by penguins deal with the harsh environment of Arctic. Let's read paragraph. Okay, since the passage, this paragraph is longer, I gave you 40 seconds. I hope you are through with the paragraph. Let me read it out for you, and then I'll paraphrase the paragraph for you in 2 or 3 lines. The researchers analyzed thermographic images taken over roughly a month during June 2008. These researchers who were studying this specific technique, they took thermographic images. During that period, the period June 2008, during that period, the average air temperature was 0.32 degree Fahrenheit, right? So the outer temperature was this much. At the same time, the majority of the plumage covering the penguin's body was even colder. So as we read in the previous slide, the temperature of the plumage is always lesser than the outer temperature, that of the outer temperature, outer environment. So here it was colder. The surface of their warmest body part, their feet, was an average 1.76 degree Fahrenheit, but the plumage on their heads, chest, backs were minus 1.84 minus this and this, right? So you have read these figures. So it is lesser than 0.32. 0.32 is the temperature of environment. This is the temperature of their plumage. Plumage on their heads, chest, and back, right? So that is what the strategy was earlier. But the warmest body part, their feet, is 1. Overall, nearly the entire outer surface of the penguins' bodies below freezing at all times. This entire duration was below freezing at all times, except for the eyes and beaks. So these two body organs, body parts, it was freezing at all times. The scientists also used a computer simulation to determine how much heat was lost or gained from each part of the body. So another simulation was done just to understand how much body heat was lost or gained. They discovered by the simulation that by keeping their outer surface below temperature, below air temperature, the birds might paradoxically be able to draw very slight amount of heat from the air around them because of this technique of keeping the outer layer of their body colder than the air temperature. They were able to draw very slight amount of heat from the air around. Very slight amount of heat was absorbed by their body. Key to this trick is the difference between two different types of heat transfer, radiation and convection. So how they were able to do this? Because of these two techniques, radiation and convection, right? So paradoxically, outer layer was colder, yet the body was warmer, paradoxically, right? And why this happened or how this happened? This happened because of these two mechanisms, radiation. Right? The second paragraph, next paragraph is going to talk about these two techniques. So I hope we are clear with this slide on in the content of this paragraph told us that one, um, the air temperature was this much and the body organs were colder than the air temperature. And then why? What was discovered later on? That because of this very slight amount of heat from the air was given, right? And radiation and convection. Paragraph 3, convection and radiation. Alright, so the penguins do lose internal body heat to the surrounding air through thermal radiation, just as our body do on a cold day, because their bodies do, but not surface plumage, are warmer than the surrounding air. Heat gradually radiates outer over time, moving from a warmer material to a colder one. So, since the internal body of the penguins is warmer, the heat flows from warmer to a colder place. So, बाहर का जो environment है, that is colder. So this heat flows from their body to outer environment, right? So that is why they lose internal body heat the surrounding air through radiation, right? To maintain body temperature while losing heat. So penguins are losing heat of their body in order to maintain the body temperature. Like all warm-blooded animals, penguins also rely on the metabolism of food. The food, the burning of that food, the energy which is produced by the food or the heat which is produced by the burning of that food is used to maintain body temperature. Because they are losing heat to the environment, outer environment. Now, how do they maintain the body temperature? They maintain the body temperature by metabolism of the food, like all warm-blooded animals do. The penguins, though, have an additional strategy. So earlier previous slide talked about two strategies, radiation and convection. So the penguins, though, have an additional strategy. Since their outer plumage is even colder than the air, the body under garam hai, plumage colder hai, and bahar ka environment is also cold. So the simulation showed that they might gain back a little of this heat through thermal convection. So there is a colder layer beneath between the warmer body and the colder environment, right? So the convection is also happening here. How? The transfer of heat via the movement of a fluid, in this case the air. The air is functioning as the fluid which is carrying the heat, is transferring. As the cold Antarctic air, please read it very carefully, as the cold Antarctic air cycles around their body, slightly warmer air comes into contact with the plumage. Now, the air which is entering the body, which is touching the plumage, is warmer because plumage is colder. The temperature of plumage is always colder than the outer environment and donates minute amount of heat back to the penguins. Now it touches colder temperature. So it is losing some heat. So that heat in minute amount is donated to the penguin's body. It cycles, then cycles away at a slightly colder temperature. This air which entered penguin's body, it cycles away at a slightly colder temperature because now it's warmer after touching warm, transferring the heat. Now it's warmer. Now it gets back to the colder temperature. It goes back, it emits out from the body, now it gets into the colder temperature. Because now, after entering the body of a penguin, it becomes warm, right? So, this is what is the substance of this paragraph. It's a bit tricky and a bit complicated as well, yet, if you deconstruct, read sentence by sentence, try to connect the logical links, and try to connect the message with the previous sentence, possibly be able to see totality last paragraph. All right, 45 seconds. Most of this heat, researchers note, probably does not make it all the way through the plumage and back to the penguin's body. Heat which is transferred, it does not come back to the plumage and the penguin's body completely, but it could make a slight. Still, it is absorbed by these two parts of penguin. At the very least, the method by which a penguin's plumage wicks heat from the bitterly cold air that surrounds it help to cancel out some of the heat that is radiating from its interior. So the heat which is produced by plumage and the heat which is radiated by the internal body cancels out. That's what this part is saying. And given the emperor's usually demanding breeding cycle, every bit of warmth counts. So whatever heat they are able to generate, it counts because they have unusually demanding breeding cycle. Since penguins track as far as 75 miles to the coast to breed and male penguins don't eat anything during the incubation period of 64 days, conserving calories by giving up as little heat as possible is absolutely crucial. Since they have unusually demanding breeding cycle and they take so much pains for this reproduction process, they have to conserve their energy in terms of the conserving their, right? That is what this paragraph. So the sum and substance of entire passages, unusual strategy which is employed by penguins to keep the body warmer. Then we are told about two processes, radiation and convection. Then some details are given in terms of what is the body temperature, what is the temperature of different body parts which are covering plumage and which are covered by plumage and temperature. Later on, we are told about the reproduction of this bird. Right? I hope the passage is clear. Let's start attempting questions. Which of the following can be responsible for emperor penguins losing body heat? Now, let's look at the options. If you have read the passage carefully, losing body heat talked about in the third and the fourth paragraph. First, food metabolism. Food metabolism has been used as one of the techniques to keep temperature of internal body is losing heat, right? Enter when the air, colder air is entering the body, it is losing its heat. Internal body. How penguin maintains the body temperature? By metabolism. Food metabolism has been cited in the paragraph to maintain the body temperature, not losing body heat. Eliminate. Now, plumage, the second option, why this is also incorrect. is because plumage is used to insulate the body, right? And it is actually not losing the body heat, it is actually absorbing the heat is coming in the form of the colder air, right? So it is not losing body heat. So plumage is not responsible for losing body heat. Reproduction process and thermal convection. A thermal convection, where in third paragraph, thermal convection and radiation, both processes are explained. So in thermal convection, body is absorbing heat. It's not using body heat, actually absorbing, right? This through radiation, it is losing. Through convection, it is actually absorbing, right? So reproduction process, because they are conserving energy, because they have to walk 75 miles in order to, so that way they are conserving their energy, they are conserving their body heat in order to invest in that entire reproduction. Possibly C, D, sorry, fourth paragraph, which talked about reproduction process. If you read that paragraph again, you will come to know they are conserving this entire heat and energy invested in process. This C. Two. This was a bit complicated. All of the following, if true, would negate the finding of the study reported. The all of the following are going to negate. That means one of the options that you are going to choose is the answer is not negating, rather it is supporting. Except is definitely going to be a tricky word, so be very attentive to this word. And if need be there, please tell yourself when you read this kind of question in a simplified way. Tell yourself what is this question asking you to do. This question is asking you to choose a detail which is supported by the passage. First, the penguin's plumage were made of a material that did not allow any heat transmission. So, if this is true, this is definitely calling the whole theory into question. The whole theory is based on plumage. Environment, temperature of plumage is lesser than that of the environment, right? And this plumage, this specific quality of plumage is the only thing which has made this possible, because of which penguin is able to do this. If this is true, this definitely challenges the whole hypothesis of the answer, because this challenges negative. Both same, right? So A is not the answer. Now look at B. The average temperature of the feet of penguins in the month of June 2008 were found to be 0.76 Fahrenheit. This whole passage is based on those body parts whose temperature is lesser than that of the environment. Read paragraph talked about this as the environment temperature, average air temperature, and this as the temperature of the warmest body part of penguins, that is their 76. If it is higher, as the option is suggesting, instead of 1.76, 2. Does not change anything about this study. Hypothesis remains as valid as it is. This has nothing to do with the whole argument. Author has based his argument on the body parts which are covered by the image. Right? This is possibly the answer. Let's hold it. Let's read. The average air temperature recorded during the month of June 2008 in the area of study were 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, this whole first paragraph told us how this is possible, how this whole thing is possible, because penguin is able to manage the body temperature of its plumage lower than the air temperature, right? So it is always lower than that of air temperature. So if this is true, 2008, when the study was conducted, the average temperature was 10 degree Fahrenheit, whereas all the body parts were minus 1.84, 0.74, minus 9.6. 10 minus 10 is definitely going to be higher than that. That is why, sorry, it's definitely going to be colder than that. So that is not the answer, because this also negates the author's hypothesis, right? D. The temperature of the plumage on the penguin's head, chest, backs were found to be 1.84, 7.24, 9.76 degrees Fahrenheit respectively. Instead of minus, author has taken the same degree, but instead of giving in minus, it has given in plus. This is definitely going to negate the author's hypothesis, because temperature of the air was 0.2 and plumage temperature is supposed to be lower than this air temperature. Hence, this is also going to negate. This is higher than the air temperature, way higher than the air temperature. Thus, this temperature has to be lower than that of air temperature. All right. So D is also negating. Hence, B is wrong. Right. Feet, temperature of feet does not change. So this option is actually not supporting your theory, but it is not negating either. Right. You possibly have to look at the question and see if what you have to do. So here, possibly the right way to paraphrase this question would have been, which of these is not negating the hypothesis of this to be. Question number 3. Which of the following best explains the purpose of the word paradoxically as used by the author? So as the word is used in other contexts as well, you see the same meaning is in this paragraph, in this context as well. So in the second paragraph or the first paragraph, author uses this word. Let's go back to this part and understand how author has used this word. Okay. Second paragraph, last few lines. Discovered by keeping the outer surface below air temperature, the birds might paradoxically be able to draw very slight amount of heat on the. So the outer layer of their body is colder than the environment or air. Despite having a colder outer layer, the body is warm. That is what is paradoxical. This whole mechanism, right? Look at the options. Keeping their body colder helps penguins keep their plumage warmer. So that is just against the whole idea of the paragraph or the passage. As it says, the plumage is always colder than the body's temperature, internal body's temperature. Right? So that is again wrong as per the passage. Heat gained through radiation happens despite the heat loss through convection. Penguin's body does not gain heat radiation, it loses radiation. Right? You remember clearly, actually loses heat through radiation. So the colder air enters their body, and because the internal organs are warmer, it starts to lose and heat, and because of that only metabolism is used to maintain the body temperature. Is also not the answer. C. Heat loss through radiation happens despite the heat gain convection. So heat loss is happening through radiation. That happens despite the heat gain through convection. So that is actually heat transfer. That is not heat gain, right? And this is also not the contradiction, right? So these are two processes which are making this happen in the penguin's body, right? So this is paradox. Paradox is the outer layer is cold, yet the body is warm. That is D. Keeping a part of their body colder helps penguin keep their body warm. One part, the outer layer, the plumage is colder than the than the air temperature, yet their body is warmer. So that is what is the paradox. As we understand, paradox is nothing but the contradictory elements. So these contradictory elements, one part is colder, yet the body is warm. So answer is D. Last question, fourth. In the last sentence of paragraph 3, slightly warmer air and at a slightly colder temperature refers to this. So this was a bit difficult question because you have to understand that part very clearly. Now let's go back to as the cold Antarctic air cycles around their bodies, slightly warmer air comes into contact with the plumage. Slightly warmer because the air outside is warmer because plumage is colder. So the air which is outside enters warmer part, plumage is the outer side, outer layer of their body. So as this air enters, it enters a warmer, slightly warmer, and donates minute amounts of heat back to the penguin. So because of entering warmer layer of penguin's body, loses some of the heat. From cold to warm, it's going to lose some of the heat. So that heat is absorbed by penguin's body. Then this air cycles away at a slightly colder. Now, since it has lost some of the heats to penguin's body, colder, and now when it goes back in the environment is slightly right. So that is how this whole thing can be understood. Now look at the options. Right. The cold Antarctic air whose temperature is higher than that of the plumage. First part is definitely right. And the fall in temperature of the Antarctic air after it has transmitted some heat, this actually captures the whole idea of those sentences. Understand? Antarctic air, जो cold है, it enters the plumage which is colder than the Antarctic air, so it enters colder temperature because plumage का जो temperature है वो बाहर की हवा से कम है, तो उस हवा को जब वो अंदर आएगी तो plumage उसको ठंडा लगेगा, so it enters colder temperature. And the fall in the temperature of Antarctic air, why fall? Because it is losing some heat. Fall in the temperature of the Antarctic air after it has transmitted some heat to the plumage, right? Because in this process, when it goes back, it is slightly colder, right? That is what is the answer. Let's understand our options and see why these options are not the answer. The cold Antarctic air which becomes warmer because of the heat radiated out from the penguin's body, right? So as we have discussed this for solving other questions as well, the Antarctic air which becomes warmer because of the heat radiated out from the penguin's body and the fall in the temperature of the surrounding air becomes thermal after thermal convection. It does not become warmer because of thermal convection, it becomes warmer because of radiation, not because of thermal convection. This is incorrect. The air trapped in the plumage, which is warmer than the Antarctic air. Nothing has been stated about the air which is trapped in plumage. So, plumage is a kind of a shield for internal body of the plant. It's a shield. It is going to be colder than the environment outside, and it is going to insulate the internal body of plant. Nothing has been told about air which is trapped in the plumage. C can outrightly be rejected. D. The air inside penguins' bodies kept warm because of the metabolism of food. Maintain body temperature is metabolism of food, right? And the fall in temperature of the body air after it transfers some heat to the plumage. It does not transfer any heat to the plumage. The air which comes in, it transfers some heat to the body, does not transfer plumage. This heat is finally transferred to the body, right? So D is also eliminated, is not the answer, right? So for this kind of passages, especially which are based on some difficult concepts and written in convoluted way, and written on a subject that does not interest you much, you have to paraphrase, right? So paraphrase is the key to solving these kind of passages. Paraphrase, that means read, understand, and tell yourself what this paragraph, right? So in a line two, try to make yourself understand that what is the sum and substance of the whole paragraph. And then try to make a skeleton. This paragraph says this paragraph says this contradicts, and finally this concludes, right? You know which paragraph constitute what kind. That way, you will have the clarity of the paragraph or the passage, as well as you will have some control on the content. So be completely detached with your opinion, because of course this is a passage is based on science. You have to be dispassionate about your reading. You cannot employ your understanding, you cannot employ your assumption here. And same time, if the passage is on a subject that does not interest you much, try to read it just with the objective of solving questions, right? So if you are driven by that sole objective, make it easier for you to understand this. In order to solve question, you are reading it, not to absorb it, not to remember it, not to retain it, right? So look at questions, then let be part of the passage which you feel contains answer. Right? Paraphrasing is going to be the key. Being dispassionate with this kind of subject is going to be the key. Third, growing your awareness. Different subject is also going to help you. So if you're preparing for CAT 2021, that should be your approach. Do diverse reading. Don't confine yourself to one kind of reading or one kind of subjects. Kind of as diverse as possible in your reading. Expose yourself to different kinds of reading material. Books, articles, blogging, and newspaper. Okay? So thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope all of you are enjoying the festivities around you. Be careful and take all the precautions because of this pandemic time, and don't get carried away because of this mood of festivities. Still, you have to follow all the precautions that we have been supposed to. So see you after Diwali, and I'll take one more session on CAT 19 passages and some strategies for 10 days CAT preparation. Right? Thank you very much, and happy Diwali.